Do you have any grandchildren?
Yes, I do.
How many grandchildren do you have?
I have 7,
And what is the range of your grandchildren's ages?
from 21 to 4.
We actually met one of your grandchildren, Patti J, who testified as a witness in this trial.
Yes.
What was it like to sit there and watch your granddaughter testify in a trial in which you're accused of murder?
I was okay with her testifying.
Was it hard?
Very hard.
Were you proud of her?
Oh, so proud.
Did you babysit Xavier Delgado on Thursday, September 24, 2009?
Yes, I did.
At what time was Xavier delivered to your home on that day?
It was approximately 8:10 in the morning.
And who delivered him?
His mother.
Was anyone else present at the time that his mother delivered him?
Yes, Madison had gotten there, and her mama, Lisa, was still there.
All right. How old was Madison at the time?
She was approximately a year old.
All right. And you said her mother, Lisa, whom we met yesterday, was present as well?
Yes.
And what happened that morning, if anything, when Melissa dropped off Xavier?
She was running late, and she'd asked if I would feed him, because she usually does that. So and I did feed him. And after she left.
Okay. Now, was Xavier beginning at that time in his life to eat baby food?
Yes, she had just started him.
Was he still receiving bottles?
Yes.
And was Xavier drinking also from a sippy cup at that time?
I was letting him get the feel of holding.
But how did he do with a sippy cup?
He struggled, but he was doing good. I worked with him.
And in fact, how many ounces was he taking in his bottle at that time normally?
4 ounces.
Okay, and what happened?
I went and changed him, and I always sat in the rocker chair, which is by the playpen, and I started feeding him. He took about 3 ounces, and he fell asleep.
All right.
And I picked him up to burpee, and he vomited all over.
And at that time, what did you do?
I patted him on the shoulder in case there was an extra burp there. And I picked him up, holding his head, and I went down and laid him on the floor, and I was on the floor with him. And each baby has their own burp cloth and everything. So I wiped his face. He had it all over his face and his clothing. And it was soaked in pretty good. So I turned him over on his tummy to make sure if he vomited again.
Other than the vomiting, what else did you observe about him, if anything?
His eyes were fixed. I thought he was having a seizure.
And so what did you do?
I got him cleaned up and changed there so he'd be dry. I picked him up and held him. And I went to the phone and called his mom, and I told her, asked her if she could come and get him.
And what did she say?
She said she could not leave. It was just her and the dietitian that day.
All right. At work?
Yes.
All right. So what did you do next?
She said that she would call me back, and I was still holding him, and he started to deteriorate. I called her back and said, I'm calling the ambulance, I'm calling 911. And she was upset and said, okay, she would meet them at the hospital then. And I called 911.
And what were you doing while you were talking to the 911 operator?
I was holding him, and then, of course, they said, put him on the floor with no pillows. And I propped his head, smacked up a little bit so his airway would be more open because he was gasping for breath.
Now, you said after the first conversation you had with Melissa, when you thought he was having a seizure, you said the word he was deteriorating. Tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury what you mean by that.
He was listless. His eyes weren't rolling, but they were fixed. And he just laid there like he was sleeping, but he was just listless. His arms, his legs, his neck just hung there, and I knew there was something going on. I didn't know what.
I want to ask you some specific questions. What, if any, act of violence did you commit against Xavier Delgado?
None.
What, if anything, did you do to shake Xavier Delgado?
I didn't shake it.
What, if anything, did you do to strike Xavier Delgado's head against an object?
I never did.
Were you frustrated with him that day?
No.
Were you angry with him that day?